What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. One of my favorite scenes in all of Dragon Ball is Majin Vegeta's sacrifice during the Buu arc, with Majin Vegeta himself being one of my favorite antagonists in DBZ. He's cool, menacing, a good parallel to Goku. I mean, he's everything Vegeta was during the Saiyan saga, amplified to a completely new height under different circumstances. Now, here's something interesting. There's been a scenario going around from one of the video games where Piccolo was turned Majin instead, and it got me thinking. What other characters could turn Majin that would cause the story to change in a unique way? Well, if we look at the show, we have both Goku and Gohan there with Vegeta. And that's what got me to today's What If. What if Goku became Majin instead? Okay, obviously, Goku can't become Majin, right? He's pure of heart, so Babidi wouldn't be able to take over him anyways. But we're going to change some stuff around in a way that ignores this, but still makes sense. I mean, we're not completely ignoring it, but it makes for an interesting scenario if Babidi is able to get past this and control Goku rather than Vegeta. We all know Goku became good by hitting his head as a kid, and all his memories and malice as a Saiyan were erased. This is important, because we'll be using this to change the events. So everything goes the same until Gohan is fighting Dabura. Babidi is about to try and control Vegeta, but he gets an idea. He wonders if he could find any sort of malice within Goku. He searches deep and finds something interesting. His Saiyan side, the side that was seemingly erased and reset after he hit his head as a kid. Babidi begins to bring these memories to Goku, and he begins to remember his true past, why he was sent to Earth, his original objective, and his personality begins to show. This creates a window of opportunity for Babidi and Dabura. In this moment of distraction and all the malice they're instilling in Goku, they use this as a backdoor, and even with his pure heart, they're able to get into his head and begin to control him, no matter how much he fights. It's no use, because, just like Vegeta, he can't resist it. He goes Super Saiyan and screams in agony, trying to resist, but suddenly goes quiet. Shin yells to him, "Goku, are you okay?" Goku laughs to himself. "Goku? You must be mistaken." He turns around and reveals the Majin symbol on his forehead, with a sinister grin. "I'm not Goku, I'm Kakarot." Babidi not only took over Goku's mind, but this completely altered his personality as well and made him revert to essentially what he'd be as a Saiyan if he never hit his head. This isn't Majin Goku, this is Majin Kakarot. Not only that, but his halo disappeared. You see, it may not be canon, but in some of the video games, Babidi has the power to resurrect people. Not only is he Majin, but Goku is alive again. He's not dead anymore. Similar to how Vegeta got his Saiyan ways back, Kakarot is back to his Saiyan ways as well. The group is teleported back to the World Martial Arts Tournament, where Vegeta, Gohan, and Shin are face to face with this new opponent. Kakarot only has one goal: make up for his failures as a Saiyan. He begins by raising his hand towards the audience and charging a ki blast. Vegeta tries to stop him, but he gets knocked back, and Kakarot launches the blast towards the spectators. He laughs to himself. "That must have been about 100 people or so. I hope that makes up for the body count Raditz asked me for." Vegeta realized what's happened. Babidi turned Goku to how he was meant to be as a Saiyan and manipulated him into a malicious but familiar foe. Vegeta knows he has to appeal to his Saiyan side. "So, you want to play Saiyan now, huh? In that case, follow me. You wouldn't want to disobey your prince after all. No need. I'll easily defeat you first, then cleanse this wretched planet like I was meant to." His mind is crazy right now. He wants to destroy Earth because of his failures to do so earlier in life, and to make up for killing his brother and betraying the Saiyans, but he isn't thinking clearly right now and doesn't think about the consequences or anything that follows or a plan afterwards. He's obviously irrational and inconsolable at the moment. Vegeta and Kakarot go off to fight, with Kakarot brushing off Babidi's commands similar to how Vegeta did, and now he's basically in control of himself. Vegeta was taken over by Babidi because he wanted to become who he was before so he could fight Goku all out, but Kakarot reveals that it's different for him. In a moment of weakness as Babidi brought back his memories as a Saiyan, his Saiyan blood flared up and blinded him to what was happening. He actually remembered who he truly was and what he was meant to do. He betrayed his race, he killed his own brother, and now he's Kakarot again, and he wants to make it right. This leaves Shin and Gohan alone to go back to Babidi's ship to find the egg for Buu. The fight between Vegeta and Kakarot rages on, but Kakarot has no need to hold back this time. During the battle, he begins to power up past Super Saiyan 2, much to the surprise of Vegeta. His hair grows and his eyebrows disappear. Kakarot shows off Super Saiyan 3. He begins to pummel Vegeta, but he drops out of the form shortly after. He's alive again, and he didn't even realize that he can't handle the stamina drain of this form now that he's not dead anymore. so he can't really use it for long, but this isn't any problem. He's already done enough damage to Vegeta, and Vegeta attempts to make his final stand while Kakarot tries to recover stamina, but it's no use. In a quick flash, Kakarot goes Super Saiyan 3 once more and delivers a final blow, knocking Vegeta out, but not killing him. Having done this, he can continue his goal of exterminating life on Earth, with no prince trying to command him. But he now senses a huge energy source that just appeared, which will block him from enacting his plan. This fight was more than enough to awaken Buu, with the events here going pretty similarly, with Gohan and Shin being beaten as Kakarot then arrives on the scene after Sets and Gohan's power go away. Even though Majin Vegeta was evil, he did kinda show some compassion for Trunks, and I feel Kakarot would do the same here, angered by the apparent death of Gohan. In a way, it's kinda the same reason he didn't kill Vegeta. Vegeta was an obstacle, but he didn't want to kill another Saiyan. Gohan, while a hybrid, is a Saiyan as well, so even if he didn't show any compassion for him, he would at least be angered by the loss of another Saiyan. He challenges Buu to a fight since he's an obstacle for his goal of taking over Earth, and now for the fact that he supposedly killed another Saiyan. The fight is a little closer than it was with Vegeta, but Buu still has a clear advantage. Even with Super Saiyan 3, which kinda matches the power, Kakarot can only use it in short bursts, with a lot of cooldown in between, since like I said before, he's alive now and he has a greater stamina drain with the form, meaning he can't utilize it as long. Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, and Krillin are all watching this fight like usual. After Kakarot escapes the beatdown, he goes over to the group, as he begins to get some sort of clarity again, like Vegeta did, and begins to snap out of his Majin influence. His Saiyan personality and traits are still there, but his goal has changed and his Saiyan blood begins pumping again. His pure heart is kinda breaking through and taking over, but not quite yet. He's still a Majin right now, but he's at least getting some sort of clarity and realizing that there's greater things to focus on right now than world domination or some plot to avenge his fallen brother. This Majin Buu is a real challenge for him, and he postpones his plans of destroying Earth for a more reasonable but challenging goal, defeating Buu by any means necessary. He tells the group where Vegeta is and that he's unconscious, and how he believes Gohan is dead as well, much to the shock of Piccolo and Goten. He would use a spirit bomb, but in his current state he can't due to him not being pure. He begins to think to himself of what he could do, and then a smile on his face appears. Krillin recognizes this look, and he knows what Goku's thinking. Just like with Cell, he wants to sacrifice himself again to defeat Buu. Buu needs to be injured in a way that doesn't allow him to regenerate at all, and Kakarot looks back at the group, and he says his goodbyes to Krillin, then proceeds to say goodbye to Goten, kinda like Vegeta did it with Trunks, but he doesn't knock the two kids out. Even with all of the protests from the group, none of them can stop what he's going to try. He powers up to Super Saiyan 3 for the last time, and he goes over to Buu as the group retreats to find Vegeta, get the Dragon Balls, and escape the area. Kakarot wraps his arms around Buu, like he does to Super 17 and GT as he begins to shine. He prepares to self-destruct. I don't know what I was thinking, letting that cockroach get control of me and make me into this monster. I might not be able to atone for what I've done, but at least I could try and kill you. Like Majin Vegeta at this point, Kakarot now has even more clarity, as his altered personality becomes more like Goku. His pure heart is actually fighting for control, as he begins to go back to a state where he's both normal and somewhat like his Saiyan alter ego. He says his farewells as he explodes, and all his energy goes into one point, Buu. A violent explosion rocks the landscape as Krillin and Goten shout for Goku, with Piccolo and Trunks watching speechlessly as Vegeta suddenly flies over to them, with an expression of fear and awe on his face as he sees what's happening. A brilliant light fills the sky as shockwaves travel towards the group, and the self-destruction has finally been completed. Goku is now dead, with Buu being gone. Krillin and Piccolo try to sense his power, but it's no use. There's nothing. He's completely gone. He's actually done it. It was a moment where both of his personalities met at an equilibrium, wanting to defeat Buu while also atoning for what he's done, both appeasing Kakarot and Goku, also with both of them having the common goal of trying to destroy Buu so he couldn't destroy Earth. Both sides saw him as an obstacle that needed to be erased, no matter what the cost. The dust settles in the area as Piccolo, Krillin, Vegeta, Goten, and Trunks see a crater left behind from the explosion with no trace of Buu or Goku in sight. They couldn't sense any energy either. The explosion was so powerful that it was more than enough to destroy Buu completely, even with his regeneration. And since Goku was resurrected by Babidi in the last part, he does return back to the afterlife now, dead once again, while Buu has been vaporized alongside him. But there's still one minuscule power that they sense: Babidi. Babidi is cursing to himself as his plan failed. Deborah is gone, Buu is gone, and his new Majin servant is gone. He cowers in fear as he's suddenly surrounded by Piccolo, Vegeta, and Krillin that look down in contempt. "Allow me," Vegeta says as he kicks Babidi in one swift motion, taking his head clean off. Well, what now? There's nothing really to do except to revive those that Goku has killed, so the group heads off to collect the Dragon Balls and revive everyone who died, including Kibito and Gohan. Surprisingly, the wish doesn't revive Gohan, and now the objective is for everyone to find him since he's probably still alive. Kibito was found to be revived too, and he should eventually end up finding Gohan and healing him, getting a Zenkai in the process. Everybody regroups for now, with Shin and Kibito thanking everyone. Vegeta has a question for them. He wants to know where Goku went. From the little we know about the afterlife, we do know that if you die while you're dead, you just end up ceasing to exist, according to Goku. But like I mentioned before, he was revived, so he didn't die while he was dead. That's kind of redundant, but you know what I mean. Which means his soul is back there. Although his actions were awful, King Yama decides that Goku shouldn't be punished for it, as everything was reversed, and Goku was possessed while it happened, so it wasn't really his fault. And I know Vegeta was punished for the same thing, but also Vegeta actually allowed himself to be possessed, and he didn't really care about the repercussions, while Goku was possessed against his will completely, and everything was still reversed, so it doesn't really make a difference in the end. And Goku did sacrifice himself to save the Earth and everyone, so that kind of makes up for what he did anyways. While back in the other world with King Kai, he notices a change in Goku. He's not a Majin anymore, obviously, and he's still like his normal self, but he seems a little more serious. For the first time, we actually got to see Goku embrace his Saiyan side, even if it was in a bad way. This side obviously doesn't influence his personality too much, but now he remembers it, and the trouble it caused, and he's not completely in the dark about his past anymore. The time as Kakarot actually made him curious about his past, and kind of regretful for killing his brother, something he never really thought about. Of course, it was the right thing to do, and they really had no other choice. But still, being Kakarot made him remember the fact that he helped kill someone from his own family. This gets him wondering. I mean, while he's here in the afterlife, he wants to see if anyone else from his family is actually in the afterlife as well. He's been able to recount memories he's had as a child, where he was sent away and his parents asked him not to forget them. All this time, he failed to do that. Maybe he can get some closure about his life as Kakarot, if he meets his family. King Kai is obviously a little hesitant for Goku to do this, but Goku's in luck. Kinda. Raditz we know for sure is probably in hell, and Bardock may have had a chance of redemption at the end of his life, but he still lived his life prior to that as any other Saiyan would, so I don't think he's really any better off than Raditz, just because he saved his son. He's most likely in hell as well. However, there's still one member of Goku's family that is probably in Otherworld, Gine. From what we know and have seen about her, she's not bad at all and obviously wasn't a fighting Saiyan, so she really has no reason to be in hell. Unlike a lot of other Saiyans, she actually showed some sort of sympathy and kind of human emotions. So along with her not living that violent Saiyan lifestyle, she's actually a good person overall. Goku is actually able to find her and meet her, much to her happiness since she could finally see her son after all this time, and that he didn't forget her. Yeah, he didn't forget her. She doesn't know about the whole amnesia thing. But for now, there is still some awkwardness that comes out of the reunion because she knows what happens with the Raditz after Goku recounts it. But nonetheless, it's good for him. He wonders though if he can get back down to hell and meet his father and reunite with his brother too, just for some more closure. And while the only times we've really seen him in hell are in Filler or in Fusion Reborn, which are both non-canon, it doesn't sound too out of the ordinary that Goku would still be able to travel between these two realms. Back on Earth, time passes during the few years before Battle of Gods, with things pretty normal except for Goku not being around, obviously. Vegeta is still training, of course, and for Gohan, if you've seen my series about Gohan training after Buu, which you can see linked at the top of this video, it's a little similar to that, but not entirely. He starts to train a little more, but not a huge amount. Given that Goku is gone and Gohan is still one of the strongest people around, he decides to heed Vegeta's advice and start training more. Another big difference is that he doesn't have his ultimate form, since he never went to the planet of the Kais, so for now he's about the same power as Vegeta, both in Super Saiyan 2. And since Vegeta is really the strongest person around other than himself, Gohan and Vegeta actually start to train a little bit together, just because he wants to take Vegeta's advice now, and maybe Vegeta could be a nice tutor for him. It's weird because he doesn't really know Vegeta that well, as you expect, but it's a good opportunity for them to bond and actually get to know each other a little bit more. Vegeta has been around all this time, and obviously Gohan knows how he is as a person, but they don't really have that big of a personal connection, so this will be a nice opportunity for them to grow it. He obviously does still focus on his education, and now his new family now that he's with Videl, so he's still not primarily focused on training. It's more that he knows he's one of the last lines of defense for everyone, so he has to take it more seriously than he ever did. Far away, Beerus wakes up after having a dream about a Super Saiyan God as his rival, and decides to search him out. He ends up on King Kai's planet, where Goku is trading with King Kai as usual. He's been dead this whole time, so Goku has been able to use Super Saiyan 3 more, and has been doing nothing but training, since he has nothing else to do and he doesn't need to sleep. He ends up fighting against Beerus, and actually takes a couple hits before being knocked down. He's still no challenge against Beerus, but he does a little better than he does originally. Beerus then heads down to Earth to seek out the other Saiyans, with the events going similar to normal. Goku asks to return to the planet for 24 hours like last time, but that request is denied. I mean, he was already lucky enough to keep his body in the afterlife and remain in Otherworld after what happened when he was last on Earth, so he won't get that same special permission this time, even if it wasn't his fault. They've showed too much leniency to Goku, and they don't want anything else going wrong, so he doesn't get to do this time. For now, all he can do is watch what happens with King Kai. Beerus doesn't get upset because there's no Boo and no Pudding fiasco, but he still is a little irritated because he challenges people like Vegeta and Gohan, and they're no match for him. They don't really have the power that he expected of a Super Saiyan God. Eventually, the idea of asking Shenron about the Super Saiyan God is brought up, so the Dragon Balls are gathered and they find out about the ritual. But they're short a few Saiyans. Videl does reveal that she's pregnant, and they try the ritual on Vegeta since he's the best suited, but it doesn't work and they realize they need 6 Saiyans, not just 5. Beerus is intrigued by this and he suggests Goku, but then he remembers he's dead and he can't actually be here, so he turns to Whis for a favor. Whis abides, and he disappears for a brief moment, and he returns with Goku, whom he taps on the head and then his halo disappears. Goku's alive again. That was pretty easy. The fact that this just happened out of nowhere obviously surprises everyone, and they're glad to see Goku's back, but they can't spend time with the reunion and they have to get on with the ritual. Goku has seen what's been going on and already knows what's happening, and he joins in on the ritual. They prepare to give the power to him, but Goku stops everyone and says that Vegeta should be the first to become a Super Saiyan God. He was originally going to become it anyways, and he doesn't want to take this moment from Vegeta. Besides, even with all the training Goku's been doing, he doesn't have the advantage of all the energy he did in the afterlife, and didn't have the same amount of time he did after the Buu arc to adjust being back in the real world, with the difference between how energy works in the living world and the afterlife. Having been dead so long and only alive under his own control for a brief amount of time, he doesn't know what kind of power he could handle in the living world at the level he's at now. So Vegeta ends up becoming the Super Saiyan God, and he gives Beerus a pretty good fight. I'll spare you the details, but it's pretty much the same as it was in the original. Some months pass before the two Saiyans go to Beerus' planet to train, but Goku remembers something that he wanted to do after his time in the afterlife. He has somewhat of a crazy idea, but after his experience as Kakarot and getting his memories back, as well as the fact that he's kind of regretful for completely forgetting about his family, he wants to do something. While Bardock and Raditz may have been in hell, he was still able to occasionally access that realm and visit them a few times, not to mention obviously being around Guinea pretty often. And while his encounters with Raditz were a little weird, Bardock was happy to see him, as well as being elated to hear that not only did Goku stand up against Prince Vegeta, but he also was the one to defeat Lord Frieza, as well as becoming the Super Saiyan of legend. When Shenron was summoned earlier, he only granted one wish, so the Dragon Balls would be active again after a few months had passed, rather than a whole year. And now some time has passed, so it's around time that the Dragon Balls start working again. Goku returns to Earth briefly and gathers the Dragon Balls himself and then summons Shenron. He can't revive a group of people that have been dead for over a year, but he can revive individual people that have been dead that long. It would just mean all 3 wishes would be used for that, and he'd have to bring them to Earth manually. Not too big of a deal for him with instant transmission. Goku first wishes for Guinea, then Bardock, then Raditz to be resurrected. After his time in the afterlife, and having his memories of his family come back, along with the fact that his Goku side and his Kakarot side were remorseful for killing Raditz, he wants to bring them back. He ends up using instant transmission to get them back, which I'm just now realizing is pretty weird since he has such easy access to these places that he shouldn't have access to, kinda like how in the Cell Saga he just is able to teleport to King Kai's planet. I mean, I know weirder stuff has happened in Dragon Ball, but I find that pretty funny that he's able to access these sort of godly places with such ease. Anyways, he does this quickly to retrieve his family members and bring them back to Earth. The situation ends up a little odd, since they weren't really expecting it, and it's fine for him to bring back Gine and Bardock, but Raditz is actually reacting kinda different to them, since Goku was the one who helped kill him in the first place, as well as the fact that Kakarot was actually able to surpass him, and Raditz still has the same Saiyan mindset as before. Although all of them are confused, Bardock and Gine are happy to be alive again and see that their son has accomplished so much. Raditz, however, is understandably not happy. After his encounter with Goku and the circumstances of that, he's still not open to being on good terms with his brother. It's good that he helped defeat Frieza and brought all of them back to life, and I mean, it is kind of Raditz's fault that Goku killed him in the first place, but Raditz is still understandably bitter. Goku arrives home to introduce his parents and brother to Chi-Chi and Goten, who are both speechless at the fact that Goku just brought back his family all of a sudden, especially Raditz. While Bardock and Gine meet Goten, Chi-Chi pulls Goku aside to ask him what happened and why he just randomly did this. Goku explains, and it actually kind of makes some sense to Chi-Chi, who is now kind of worried that Goku has changed after the whole Majin thing. She's mainly angry at him for bringing Raditz back though, after she heard what he did to Goku and Gohan a while back. But Goku justifies this by saying that he's capable of change just like all of his other former enemies, and Chi-Chi realizes that he's right, but she's still understandably pretty concerned about all this. The question remains, is Goku actually the same person still? Eventually, Gohan and Videl end up finding out about this, and they have the same reaction Chi-Chi did, but being more easily convinced and sort of interested in the idea that they now have a bigger family. It's especially weird for Gohan to see Raditz again. He was only 4 at the time and doesn't remember Raditz much, but they're both equally speechless because they know the history. Gohan isn't sure what to think about his uncle, and Raditz is surprised to see that the brat he kidnapped grew up and, according to Goku, is pretty strong now. The rest of Goku's friends end up finding out too, and like Chi-Chi and Gohan, they're kinda worried about this new change in Goku. But as we'll see later on, it extends beyond just this one event. The 3 new members of the Sun family start to get adjusted to Earth life. After a week or so, Goku heads back to Beerus' planet with Vegeta to train, and says he'll be back, and now Bardock, Gine, and Raditz are left to their own devices and can do whatever they want with their new lives. It's kinda weird that they're back now, but Raditz is actually starting to like the idea of being alive again. If Kakarot got this strong, then maybe he can as well, and probably best his brother in combat one day. Bardock, on the other hand, he wants to train as well, but he's actually content right now to know that Frieza is defeated, and really only trains because it seems like it'll be fun to get more powerful. Gine obviously doesn't train, but she actually gets along pretty well with Chi-Chi and spends time getting to know her 2 new grandsons, as well as her daughter-in-law. It's a pretty odd adjustment for them, but they end up getting used to it and liking it, especially Bardock and Gine. Frieza's gone, their 2 sons are alive and happy, one of them even has a family and is insanely powerful now, so they don't really have a worry in the world right now. But obviously, that's just them. Other people are starting to get worried about Goku. Some time passes, and now we head into Resurrection F. Gohan, still having kept up with his training, but not by an insane amount, senses something approaching Earth, alongside Piccolo. Everyone else senses this, even Raditz and Bardock, who have barely learned to sense Ki now, and they head to where they sense it. And of course, it's Frieza's ship that just arrived. First comes the hordes of Frieza Force soldiers that they have to fight. Everyone, even Bardock and Raditz, have an easy time with these fodder soldiers. Bardock and Raditz aren't incredibly powerful, but after a few months of training and some experience in the gravity chamber, they've actually gotten a little stronger. Considering they were already above Goku from early Dragon Ball Z, it's safe to assume that a few months of training in the gravity chamber would put them somewhere in the late Namek Saga level, considering how effective gravity training was for Goku, and that they're experienced already and trained well with each other. Of course, they're not going to be insanely powerful, and really the only thing they can truly do is hold off some of the fodder soldiers. After all the weakling soldiers are defeated, the main course, Frieza, arrives. While Bulma still tries to contact Beerus and Whis, the group is now worried about Frieza. They can sense he's stronger than before. Bardock is furious to see him again, and is overconfident in his new strength, but Piccolo stops him from attacking. Bardock is fuming because he realizes that Piccolo is right and that Frieza's got a lot stronger. So he knows attacking Frieza head-on is a bad idea right now. Until Goku and Vegeta arrive, Gohan is their best option. Now, as I mentioned in the last part, Gohan did do a lot more training than normal, but only a little bit on the side and not some insane amount. Gohan in this timeline doesn't have ultimate, but he can still turn Super Saiyan 2 very easily and is a lot more powerful than he was in the Buu Saga, and way more powerful than Gohan was during Resurrection F. Of course, He doesn't have Super Saiyan God like Vegeta, and he didn't want to use Super Saiyan 3 like Goku because of the stamina drain, but he was able to train his Super Saiyan 2 form even more and become a formidable foe. So he's going to do a lot better than he did in Resurrection F. He begins to fight First Form Frieza with no effort at all, but then Frieza powers up to his final form and Gohan realizes something is wrong. Frieza is way stronger in his final form than he was on Namek, but Gohan doesn't back down yet. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is able to keep up with final form Frieza, but isn't advantaged like before. He might be able to defeat Frieza in this form, but he's having a bit of trouble, and Frieza seems to be hiding something. Frieza is having fun with this fight, but he no longer wants to mess around. He powers up to Golden as Gohan backs away in awe at how strong Frieza is. Luckily though, the energy that Gohan and Frieza gave off from their fight and transforming was enough for Goku to pick up on, and he teleports himself and Vegeta back to Earth. Goku glares at Frieza, more menacingly than he's ever looked at anyone before. Even Vegeta is surprised. Goku wasn't this hostile towards Frieza even on Namek. Goku powers up to his new Super Saiyan Blue form and skips the dramatic revelation, as Frieza is now taken aback in fear, but then regains his composure. Right now, he feels he's stronger than Goku, but Goku knows Frieza can't control this form for long. Goku is waiting for the right moment to strike. The fight begins, and Goku holds his own pretty well against Golden Frieza, but Frieza is obviously a little bit more advantaged. That is, in terms of power. If Goku can draw the fight out a little bit, then maybe the stamina drain will catch up to Frieza because he obviously can't control his form yet. After some more fighting, once Frieza gets noticeably more tired, Goku gets the upper hand. Everyone watching is amazed at how strong Goku is now, especially Raditz and Bardock, who are actually proud to see Kakarot against Frieza. Raditz is starting to take a liking to his little brother. This is interesting to watch. Kakarot has obviously come a long way from where he was before. Goku is winning now, and then beats Frieza down into defeat. Instead of hesitating like Vegeta did, Goku is a lot more serious this time. Parts of his Kakarot personality are now stuck with him, and he isn't going to be as merciful as he was normally, especially against Frieza. He finishes off Frieza relatively easy with one quick Kamehameha, and while no one really sees this as an issue, Gohan and even Vegeta are somewhat concerned about Goku's changes. Given that Gohan and Vegeta are a little bit more friendly this time around, in this timeline, Gohan actually goes to Vegeta to ask him about it. It's not really that big of a deal, but Vegeta has noticed the same thing Gohan does. He's not particularly worried like Gohan is though. It's just the change that he noticed that kinda weirded him out. He theorizes that it's Goku's Saiyan ideals affecting his personality, and now Goku isn't entirely the same person he was before Babidi brought his memories back. Normally, even with someone like Frieza, Goku wouldn't kill someone that easily. Even on Namek, after Frieza killed Krillin of all people, not even then did Goku kill Frieza when you'd expect him to. This behavior is definitely odd and sets off some alarms with both them, but the two don't know what to think of it. If anything, Vegeta's kind of amused because this means Kakarot isn't a softie anymore, but Gohan's obviously a little concerned. And of course, Bardock and Raditz seem to enjoy this side of Kakarot though. Life on Earth returns to normal as Goku and Vegeta are back with Beerus, and things go pretty much like usual. However, sometime after Frieza's second death, Champa shows up on Beerus' planet and meets Goku and Vegeta. Everyone pretty much has the same interactions, and like usual, the Universe 6 tournament gets planned. Now, the two Saiyans are tasked with finding 3 other fighters. Shouldn't it only be 2? Well, given the fact that Vegeta is Beerus' main rival now instead of Goku, Beerus has no need for Monaka to join. He knows Vegeta is motivated to become stronger, and right now, Vegeta is the strongest because he got the head start of being a Super Saiyan God. So the two of them now have to find a few fighters for their team. No Monaka needed. Back on Earth, they begin recruiting. Even though the power gap between the two Super Saiyan gods and Gohan is huge, Gohan is the strongest person other than Goku and Vegeta, so they recruit him first, and since he's more up to train this time, he actually joins. The next two are harder to pick for them. Goten and Trunks are pretty strong, but maybe not disciplined enough to fight here. Piccolo is a good option, but they need another fighter alongside him, so they could potentially use one of the humans like Krillin, although Krillin hasn't really kept up with his training. Raditz and Bardock may be good options, but they're a little weak now. Actually, they're very weak now. Even if they train in the time chamber, will it be enough for them? And that would mean Goku and Vegeta couldn't go in the time chamber. The two of them can't even go Super Saiyan yet, so the team of 3 isn't really sure if they should recruit them, so I'll leave it up to you guys to decide who they recruit. Who are the 2 remaining members for Universe 7? Goten and Trunks, who may not be disciplined enough for the fight but are definitely strong, Piccolo and Krillin, both of whom have discipline and a little bit of strength, or Bardock and Raditz, who have the discipline and they have potential, but as of now, not enough strength. I left off the last part with a poll. Goku and Vegeta were tasked with finding a team for the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, and Universe 7 actually has a decent team so far. Goku and Vegeta of course are on there, with Gohan now on the team after moving his schedule around a bit. But they need 2 more fighters. The options I put were Goten and Trunks, Piccolo and Krillin, or Bardock and Raditz, and the latter option won with the most votes. So now, the next people recruited for the team are Bardock and Raditz, which were Goku's suggestion. Vegeta is fine with it as they're 2 Saiyans and should be good in fights like this, but then he gets a bit iffy once Gohan brings up their strength. With Goku and Vegeta being off on Beerus' planet, they completely forgot that Bardock and Raditz don't even know how to go Super Saiyan yet. Sure, they're both strong, but they're not even the strongest option they have right now. But they do have the potential to become strong, if they're able to unlock Super Saiyan somehow. The only issue is, they don't have enough time. Time. That gets Goku an idea. He wants to train in the Room of Spirit and Time with Vegeta anyways, but they could split the time in half and have the other 2 train in there, while Goku and Vegeta only take up a day and a half to train. Gohan will join them in the room so he can teach them Super Saiyan, and they'll be sure to prep the room with more food beforehand so it's enough for 3 people for an entire year and a half. Yeah, it is a little weird, but Goku thinks it'll work. So after they recruit Bardock and Raditz, Goku heads in with Vegeta while Gohan tries to show them the basics of the form. As of now, Gohan in the scenario has been training a bit, but not an insane amount. It's more of a realistic time split. Since Goku was dead for a brief period after the Buu saga, Gohan and Vegeta were really the only ones strong enough to take the mantle. While it's not a lot of training, it's enough for him to not become weaker over time. So not only is he a bit stronger now, but he's actually able to use Super Saiyan 2 instead of like he was before where he could barely go Super Saiyan. And since Buu died in the first part, Gohan never actually got his ultimate form either, so Super Saiyan 2 is his peak right now. And I'm not going for a kind of outlandish approach like I did in my What If about Gohan training after Buu. I'm going for a more realistic one, where he's not doing consistent rough training, but it's enough to keep him up to date and so he doesn't get rusty. He has to have a work-life balance after all. While there's a huge gap between him and Goku and Vegeta, given their access to God Ki and all, Gohan is the strongest person right after them. And even though he's the 3rd strongest, there's a huge gap of power in between them. As for Bardock and Raditz, in the last part, I placed them as being similar strength to the late Namek Saga characters, probably around the level where Goku was in base after getting out of the rejuvenation chamber and facing final form Frieza. They mainly spend time doing gravity training together, and since Resurrection F, they actually got a little stronger than that, but they're not considerably stronger than they were then. It's not really enough to be a noticeable difference. Gohan's not really a teacher, but he's going to try to show them the basics of Super Saiyan and help them transform. Goku and Vegeta exit the Room of Spirit and Time after 36 hours have passed, and now Gohan enters with his uncle and his grandfather. The 2 of them know about Super Saiyan, but they haven't been able to access it on their own, so now they're going to spend a year and a half training in order to get stronger and actually learn how to tap into the form. After some time, it actually does end up working. It doesn't really take that long either. After a few months, they're able to use Super Saiyan Grade 1 pretty well, so for the rest of the time, Gohan tries to get them to master the form like he did back in the Cell Saga. After the training is over, the 3 of them exit, with Bardock and Raditz in their Super Saiyan forms. Not only do they have Super Saiyan now, but they got much stronger from the training, with the 2 of them now being early Buu Saga tier, thanks to the fact that they train in Super Saiyan for most of the time. Having a year and a half of training might have been a bit overkill, since they only needed just under a year to learn and master Super Saiyan, but the power they got is still valuable. They're actually striving for Super Saiyan 2 now, but aren't close at all yet. Gohan didn't get too much stronger from this, but he got back into the groove of fighting because of it, so he's not as rusty or reckless as he was before, and he's a lot more disciplined. After he got Bardock and Raditz to master the form, he did some decent training, but nothing special. Now with the team of all Saiyans, they head off to the tournament and begin. The power ranking goes as follows. Goku's at the lead, and he's pretty much even with Vegeta, if not a little bit ahead. But no one knows he has Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken yet, and that'll put him a lot farther ahead. And then Gohan is a lot farther from Vegeta, and is in 3rd place. And then we have another gap in power, and then that leads us to Bardock, who's a little bit stronger than Raditz, but still pretty even with him. Since nothing with their team changed, the order of the Universe 6 fighters will remain the same, but the order of Universe 7's fighters is different because the team is different. The order starts with Bardock, then Vegeta, Goku, Raditz, and finally Gohan. First, we start off with Bardock versus Botamo. Bardock is able to exploit Botamo's ability and use it against him, After realizing he can't deal any damage to him, but using his full power, he's able to deliver a punch to Batamo's stomach that stretches him out and sends him flying like a giant rubber band, kinda like what we've seen with Batamo before. Next up is Bardock vs Frost. Bardock, seeing that this guy looks like Frieza, assumes the worst and treats Frost as if he's Frieza. He ends up doing some damage to Frost, only to be poisoned during the fight without noticing. It seems like Frost was able to beat Bardock with one hit, but in reality, it was the poison that got to him. Bardock recovers and he's now kinda confused, same for everyone else. He's now eliminated and Vegeta is up next. After seeing Bardock get eliminated so easily, Vegeta can tell something is wrong, so he keeps his eyes open and tries to avoid all of Frost's attacks rather than attacking right away. After observing Frost for a bit, he notices the way Frost is attacking. He seems to be stabbing his wrist out, as if there's something there that he's trying to hit Vegeta with. And that's what he notices. On Frost's wrist, there's something there. He calls Frost out and the ref sees that the things are poison needles, and he's about to disqualify Frost, but Vegeta steps in to stop him. He'd rather fight Frost one-on-one, and he's confident that he'll win. Vegeta coaxes Frost into powering up, knowing that he has further transformations like Frieza, and he transforms into his assault form, then eventually his final form. Vegeta ends up wiping the floor with him and wins, easily. Next up is Vegeta vs Vegeta, and that goes pretty much like normal. Vegeta finds out Vegeta's weakness, and Vegeta wins pretty easily. Following that is Kaba. Similar to the match with Vegeta, nothing really changes here either. It's still Vegeta facing him, and it's pretty much the same. They end up forming somewhat of a bond, Kaba learns Super Saiyan, and then Vegeta ends up winning against him. With 4 fighters down, it's looking good for Universe 7, and Hit is the last one for Universe 6, but the tide is about to turn here. Vegeta starts out facing him, and needless to say, it doesn't go that well. Vegeta gets a few hits in, but they don't really do anything to Hit. Once Hit uses his time skip, it's pretty much over. Vegeta is knocked out of the ring, and now Goku is up versus Hit. This fight is actually pretty routine as well. Goku figures out Hit's time skip, and he powers up his Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10. Wow, that's a mouthful. Goku is a bit weaker here, because he only had about a year and a half of time in the time chamber instead of 3, but it's not a significant enough amount to change the outcome of the fight. His Blue Kaioken doesn't do as much to Hit as originally, but it was still able to even the playing field a bit and actually break through Hit's time skip, since Goku actually breaks out this form earlier in the battle. Following this, the fight also concludes pretty similar to normal. Now, if you've seen from the past few episodes, Goku has been a bit different ever since the Majin incident. He hasn't been totally like a Saiyan, but he hasn't been totally like Goku either. Having had all his memories as a Saiyan restored, and some of that personality, it has affected his Goku ideologies in some ways, but it's not really that dramatic yet. He's somewhere in between Goku and where Vegeta is right now. So not substantially different, but there definitely is a bit of an altered personality there. Nothing insane though, it's not like he becomes some brutal, ultra edgy, hardcore Saiyan like that. That said, his altered personality doesn't really affect the outcome of this fight, as the way Goku ends it would still make sense because of the way he thinks. Altered mindset or not, the prospect of a fight against Hit with no rules prohibiting them from using their full power would be enticing to Goku either way. Knowing Hit can't really go all out here, Goku decides to get rid of any rules here in this fight. This causes an argument between Beerus and Champa like normal, and seeing this, Goku drops out of the fight voluntarily. Hit has won against Goku, but it's not over yet. Universe 7 has 2 fighters left, Raditz and Gohan, but it's not really going to be that eventful of a fight. Raditz goes up against Hit and is a little nervous, but he powers up as far as he can. He launches himself towards Hit and lands a direct attack on Hit at full power. They both remain still for a second, and then Hit screams as he's launched out of the ring. Hit willingly took the fall in this fight, and Raditz has won, which inflates his ego greatly. Even though he's kinda had a suspicion that Hit threw the fight, he's still a little cocky about it. "How do you like that, Kakarot? It seems I'm still the strongest brother." Apologies for the bad Raditz impression. Now, Universe 6 has lost, and Universe 7 wins with 2 fighters left, Raditz proclaiming himself as the MVP, and Gohan not getting to fight at all. He's a little sour from it, all that time spent training and not getting to fight at all, and having to move his schedule around, but it's fine because at least he got ahead with his training a bit, right? The same wish is made by Beerus to restore Earth in Universe 6, and everyone returns back to Universe 7 following the tournament. Life returns pretty much to normal for a bit, until Capsule Corp gets an unannounced visitor one day. A time machine shows up out of nowhere in the yard, and inside of it is none other than future Trunks. He's greeted by Goku and Vegeta, causing him to freak out as he sees Goku when waking up. Kinda confused at his reaction, The group then finds out what happened to Trunks and why he's here, and why he reacted that way when he saw Goku. A certain villain is attacking his timeline, and this villain looks exactly like Goku for some reason, but he can't quite tell why. That's right, it's none other than Goku Black. I mean, when you think about it, it wouldn't really make much sense for it to be anyone else. Things are going fairly normal after the tournament. Everyone is back to their daily lives, and things continue pretty normally. However, at Capsule Corp, a visitor arrives from the future. It's Trunks again, who seems to be in very bad shape right now. Goku and Vegeta arrive at Capsule Corp, with Bardock and Raditz tagging along since they don't really have much else going on. Trunks eventually wakes up and regains consciousness, and immediately he freaks out. You saw how he reacted to seeing Goku, but now he sees Goku and Bardock, who looks exactly like Goku. Seeing two Gokus makes him instantly more hostile, and he jumps to the conclusion that one of these is the true Goku Black, with the other being Goku. And this quick conclusion that he jumped to is his explanation for why Goku Black exists in the first place. They're able to get Trunks to calm down, with everyone taken aback by Trunks attacking them. After some explanation, things settle down, and Trunks realizes he was wrong. Trunks explains what happened in his timeline, and Goku explains who this other guy is and how he got here, as well as the other Saiyan with long hair, being his brother. Trunks then begins to differentiate this Bardock guy from Goku Black, and especially after Goku explains how Bardock's been dead for a while until Goku brought him back. Okay, well at least Trunks can deduce this guy might not be Goku Black. Plus, he has a scar so he doesn't even look exactly like him. It turns out this is just Goku's father. Kinda weird still, but I mean, he's not gonna question it. Weirder things have happened. However, not long after, the true Goku Black actually shows up by using a rift in time created by his time ring. This ends up causing Goku to fight him, with Beerus and Whis picking up on his time ring and Potara earring. They take note of this. It's pretty important and it's kinda strange why he has these. Goku fights Goku Black this time like normal, but here's another moment where Goku's altered mentality comes in. Normally, Goku wouldn't be someone to kill an opponent unless it's absolutely necessary, as we saw with Frieza and Buu. Here though, well, he deems it as necessary that they should kill this guy while they have the chance, with his Kakarot side from earlier in the scenario peeking out a bit and causing him to act differently in this fight. After Super Saiyan 3 isn't doing much to Goku Black, Goku jumps straight to Blue, which causes Goku Black to actually be kinda nervous. Goku knows this guy is bad and destroyed Trunks' timeline, plus he could tell by this guy's ki that it's not actually Goku, it's an imposter, so Goku feels completely justified in going in for the kill. Before Goku Black can escape, he's met with a Kamehameha that disintegrates him before he can even react. Trunks is pretty elated to see how Goku did this, because as far as he knows, Goku Black was the only threat in his timeline. That was really easy, a lot easier than he expected. Trunks thanks Goku, and now, as soon as the time machine is refueled, he can head back to his timeline. Not so fast. Beerus and Whis actually suggest that he doesn't head back right away. After seeing his time ring, they want to find out where Goku Black came from, and they have a potential lead. Until then, they advise that Trunks doesn't head back because there may be more to the story. Trunks agrees, having not even considered this outcome. In the meantime, things go fairly normal. Beerus, Whis, and Goku meet Zamasu, Vegeta trains with Trunks, Trunks meets with Gohan again, Zeno and Goku meet again, all that stuff. Having figured out a potential lead, Trunks ends up returning to his timeline with Goku and Vegeta. There's no Goku Black there, which is a good sign. Goku actually did end up finishing him off. However, they meet a new foe, Zamasu. Zamasu shows up, and the group realizes that Beerus and Whis were right to suggest that he might be behind this scheme. They fight Zamasu into 3v1, and they're pretty strong in comparison and they think they have it in the bag, but they soon find out that Zamasu is immortal. Zamasu also finds out that Goku Black is dead, which angers him greatly. The anger is partially directed at Goku Black for his failure to succeed, but mostly towards the group for killing him. No matter though, if Goku Black couldn't survive, he must have not been a good asset anyways, and it's good that he's not around anymore. If he's that weak, Zamasu couldn't really rely on him too much. Zamasu can accomplish this alone with his immortality, and now he's enraged, and he begins a more brutal assault, with the group barely able to escape, this time with Mai coming along. As they escape, they hear Zamasu laugh, threatening to find them and follow them, saying that there's no escape. This worries the group, as it means Zamasu's probably going to end up tracking them down. They arrive in the present, but now they're very worried that Zamasu's going to end up following them back soon. As they return, Beerus, Whis, and Shin meet up with the group, and they inform the godly figures what they found and how they know that Zamasu is actually behind it now. The hunch Beerus and Whis had was right. They mention how Zamasu is immortal and might follow them here to this timeline, but it should be fine because Beerus can just erase him, right? Well, no. Beerus says that he can't do that due to Zamasu being immortal, because as he stated before, his Hakai can't kill immortal people. If he does show up, they'll have to think of something else to solve it, but maybe they'll find some sort of solution. Beerus makes a passing mention of Zeno, and this actually makes Goku remember. He just got a button that could summon Zeno whenever he needs, and being fresh in his mind, Goku suggests maybe that he could ask Zeno, which freaks Beerus and Shin out. But Whis actually agrees and says that it might work since Goku and Zeno are friendly, so it won't anger him, as long as Goku plays with him afterwards or something. If they need to do that, Zeno could actually kill Zamasu. They decide to use it as a last resort, but then their fears are realized when Zamasu actually does appear through a portal in their time. Whis takes note of this, as they now have to inform Gowasu eventually, since they have solid proof that Zamasu is up to something, but they have to deal with him first. Interested in a potentially cool fight, Beerus goes in first to truly test if he's immortal, as well as knowing that Zamasu's a threat, so he begins to whoop him around easily. It's not really that hard to fight Zamasu, the gap in power is pretty big. He then pulls out a Hakai, and ends up erasing Zamasu temporarily, but Zamasu laughs as he regenerates from it, not being able to die. It appears he actually is immortal, so Beerus backs down, but he's not too fearful right now. They can hold him off. However, Zamasu sees something that catches his eye. Shin. He could kill Shin right now and get rid of Beerus in this timeline, and now Beerus is a little nervous, and gives Goku the okay to summon Zeno. Zamasu lunges towards Shin as Vegeta, Trunks, and Beerus attempt to hold him off, which isn't that hard, but they need to do it anyways. Goku pulls out the Zeno button and summons Zeno. He apologizes for summoning Zeno so soon, but he points over to Zamasu and tells Zeno who he is and what he's done, and what he's planning to do next. Zeno recognizes the Kai in training, and he's not happy with him at all. He confronts Zamasu, and then promptly erases him. Phew! Crisis averted. Well, that storyline went pretty quickly. Zeno heads back, and Goku promises he'll play with him soon for helping out, and the two shake hands as Zeno leaves happily, having seen his friend again. Trunks ends up heading home with Mai, thanking everyone for the help, and now they can finally return to their timeline, which is safe again. No Vegito, no Super Saiyan Rose, no Merge Zamasu, and thankfully, no Super Saiyan Rage. Also, this outcome is a lot better, because Trunks' timeline survives, and he prevents a lot of deaths in the process, although they still do need to rebuild now. But I mean, that's nothing new for Trunks, he's been through that before. But in the present timeline, an interesting turn of events happens. Whis and Beerus visit Gowasu, and tell him what happened, and Zamasu hears and is now a bit worried. He hasn't committed to it yet, but he admits that he has had thoughts like this and did plan to try this, but after seeing his future self defeated and hearing what happened, he realizes this might be a dumb idea and he wouldn't win. Gowasu steps in and he's very disappointed in Zamasu, but he wants to show forgiveness and use this as a learning experience. If Zamasu doesn't like mortals for being destructive, instead of killing them, why not be proactive? Help them reform and help out by improving the universe rather than destroying it, as a Kai should. Zamasu actually does consider this, and realizing that his plan would end up in failure, he apologizes and he says he's willing to learn to change. He's partially genuine with this, but of course he won't turn good so quickly. Another big reason that he says this is because he knows now that he's on Gowasu's watch list, as well as Zeno and probably Rumshi, his universe's god of destruction, as well as Beerus. So he kinda has to watch himself anyways, now that he has Zeno, two gods of destruction, and Gowasu breathing down his neck. But part of him is actually genuinely willing to try and change, so he's actually spared for now. He never tried to attack Gowasu, and now that he's been found out, he's basically gonna go through Kai rehab and reform himself. So here's another change. Zamasu survives in the present timeline, and he's nowhere near close to being good yet, but the fact that he could turn good now, having a path to redemption in the future, is a pretty huge thing to consider. We'll probably end up seeing him again during the Tournament of Power when the universes meet up. And it's a good thing that I bring that up, because that's where we're heading next. About a year or so afterwards, things are going pretty well. Since he's been around on Earth more, Beerus has actually picked up on Bardock and Raditz. Interesting, more Saiyans that could potentially be strong. They still have a long way to go though. They're not even anywhere close to being on the level of Goku or Vegeta, because they had such a late start. Right now, the best they have is Super Saiyan 2. And their training's been pretty effective and they're probably around Buu Saga level here, but it's not really that good in comparison to everyone else. Goku is actually able to convince Beerus to let them join in training, and that'll maybe speed up their growth. Sure, they might not become Super Saiyan gods right away, or even Super Saiyan Blue by extension, but they definitely will become stronger. So they've been training with Goku and Vegeta on Beerus' planet, and now they're trying to work towards attaining Super Saiyan God, but they haven't had much progress yet. However, something interesting happens. Having not seen Goku in a year, Zeno ends up seeking out Goku again, instead of the other way around, and he suggests the Tournament of Power. He's pretty bored right now because he's alone without having an extra Zeno, and he hasn't seen Goku in a while either, so that's why he initiates it this time. And with that happening, Universe 7 now must prepare a team for the Tournament of Power. Thus begins the process of recruiting everyone. So there's a few obvious choices here. Goku, Bardock, and Raditz are pretty much shoo-ins since they were there to witness this. And they next go to find Vegeta. And Vegeta doesn't want to join at first, but after Whis helps deliver Bulla, Vegeta ends up joining along. Piccolo and Gohan are next, with Gohan becoming the leader of Universe 7 pretty much like normal. However, Gohan's been kinda behind in his training. But I will say, Gohan in this scenario is actually stronger than the original story, but not by much. When Goku was absent for a few years when he was dead, Gohan had to actually take up the mantle and actually train with Vegeta and be strong in order to protect Earth, if anything ever did happen. We saw this too in Resurrection F in this scenario, back in Part 3. Gohan here still has access to Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2, and doesn't need to try and attain that. But there's a big change here. Gohan doesn't have his ultimate form, so while he's stronger right now, after training, he's going to be weaker than he was when he got ultimate back. He's still pretty far ahead though, but he's going to need to do some intense training with Piccolo. Goku even suggested that he go to Beerus' planet and train with them, but Gohan couldn't do that and just abandoned his responsibilities on Earth, unlike Bardock and Raditz. Plus, they don't even have enough time right now to do that. He just has to train with Piccolo and improve his power further. So that's 6 members right now. Krillin is also recruited, and as for the other members, 17 and 18 are recruited as well, with Tien joining as the last one. So instead of Frieza and Roshi, we end up having Bardock and Raditz. Roshi hasn't joined because, well, he still needs to overcome his obsession with woman. And he's not even sure if that'll work, so yeah, he sits this one out. But now, the team is created, and they end up heading towards the world of Void, preparing for the tournament to begin. Considering people are a bit weaker here, this is going to be a very interesting thing to watch play out. Universe 7 is interested in all the fighters they've seen so far. Everyone here looks really strong, and this will be a pretty challenging fight. One thing that Goku and Vegeta pick up on is that they see Zamasu in the stands watching over. The fact that he's still alive means he's probably been on good behavior, but who knows. Hopefully he's not going to be angered again when he sees the godly powers that some of the fighters possess. They don't really want him to act up here or afterwards, so they're just hoping for the best. Rather than trying to stick everyone together, Gohan realizes that it wouldn't work due to all the Saiyans being so independent, so he suggests this time instead that everyone sticks in small groups, which they actually agree to. Being the leader of Universe 7, he needs to try and adapt. When the tournament begins, the different groups head off together and get into their fights. One of the strongest subgroups here is made of just Goku and Vegeta, who eliminate Universe 9 pretty much right off the bat, kinda like how it went in the original anime. Pretty standard here. The grouping strategy actually helps out here a bit when we get to Krillin's fight. While 17 is kinda off on his own, he sticks relatively close to Krillin and 18, which is the subgroup he was assigned to, with 17 being so close to them. Krillin and 18's fights here go normally, but 17 is able to intervene and prevent Frost from knocking Krillin off. And instead, he knocks Frost off himself. This saves Krillin from being eliminated, and it pretty much saves everyone else for any of the trouble Frost could have caused later on. You know, without Frieza being around, Frost was pretty much a loose cannon and was going to do whatever it takes to become victorious. You could probably even consider him a liability to his own universe. Speaking of Universe 6, let's get back to Goku. Like normal, he's interested in training Caulifla, which causes Kale to get enraged and show off her full power, leading to Jiren almost knocking her out. It goes pretty normal here, as are some of the fights following it. Now we could jump over to some of the other subgroups, where things are going pretty well for everyone. For example, Bardock and Raditz are able to hold their own pretty well, even knocking off a few fighters. The remaining subgroup that I haven't mentioned yet consists of Gohan, Piccolo, and Tien, which is also handling themselves very well. Gohan here doesn't have ultimate, meaning that he's at a disadvantage, but on the flip side, he's had much more training recently, which has made him a more creative and strategic fighter. Even though he only has Super Saiyan 2 right now, and he isn't striving for any god forms or anything, his natural hybrid potential allowed him to keep up with the group, so even if he's not on the level of someone like Goku or Vegeta, he's still one of the stronger ones on the team, probably around the 3rd strongest, although he's not nearly as powerful as he was in canon. When encountering Universe 2, Goku and Vegeta converge with the androids and Krillin, as the 5 of them end up facing off Universe 2's top fighters. This battle leads to Krillin being knocked out, but it also means some of Universe 2's fighters get eliminated earlier on, notably Ribrianne and her crew. Again, we have some strong fighters being eliminated pretty early, which is a good thing. Back to Gohan's group. They're doing pretty well too. Gohan has taken out Batamo, and is now facing Babidi as Tien and Piccolo stick very close by to make sure no one interferes, and are ready to jump in if he needs help, but Gohan still wants to try this himself. In this fight, pretty much like normal, Gohan ends up being victorious over Babidi, albeit he has a little bit more trouble this time around. But with this elimination, that means Universe 10 is the next to go. Gowasu accepts his fate, while Zamasu is kinda conflicted, angered at his universe, but also kinda himself for not doing more as a Kai to prevent this. But it's too late now to be angered about that, there's nothing left that they can do. So he and Gowasu say their farewell as their universe is erased. Minus the events with Roshi and the events of Frost, the next few parts go pretty standard, except for Tien staying in the ring due to him sticking close to Gohan and Piccolo, with them helping him out this time around, so Tien gets to stay in for a little bit longer. We arrive at the Spirit Bomb, and this part also goes pretty normally. Goku faces Jiren, ramping up his power all the way up to Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, and eventually finishing off with a Spirit Bomb, which he falls into. This causes the awakening of Ultra Instinct, amazing everyone with this power. The rest of the Saiyans are stunned at the power of Goku, but particularly Vegeta and Bardock are. They would have never expected something like this to happen, a low-class warrior becoming this strong. Bardock can't help but feel a sense of pride for his son, even though Saiyans aren't really close to their kids like that. We have seen that pride can be a big factor in that, notably with people like King Vegeta and Paragus taking pride in their son's power. Raditz on the other hand can't help but laugh, remembering the Kakarot that he once fought, now being able to do something like this. It also gives him a sense of cockiness, having him feel that Universe 7 now has a guaranteed victory. But, also to the shock of everyone, Goku ends up losing Ultra Instinct and is completely out of stamina. Vegeta splits from Goku and goes off on his own, after providing some energy to him alongside with Bardock and Raditz helping, while Goku is left to recover on his own. Following this, events go pretty normal as well. With Universe 7 having 9 fighters left this time, they're also a big target now. Eventually, Tien is knocked out during this part, since things are heating up and people are targeting Universe 7 more and more. Now, Goku faces Kale and Caulifla, with this fight leading to Kale and Caulifla fusing into Kefla. This comes as a shock to everyone in Universe 7, never having seen fusion with Potara before. Goku has seen the fusion dance in the afterlife, but he's never actually gotten to show it off, or teach anyone of it because of how the Buu Saga went differently in this scenario. This is completely new to everyone else, too, as they've never seen the Potara used in fusion before. Even against Zamasu this didn't happen, due to the early death of Goku Black, meaning that they couldn't even fuse. Anyways, Kefla fights Goku, and this gets him to unlock Ultra Instinct once again, defeating her because of this. But, just like his fight against Jiren, he falls out of it eventually. Things begin to change more and more after this fight. Universe 7 still has a lot of fighters left, while Universe 6 is on its last legs. But eventually, that universe is erased once the two Namekians are defeated, and Universe 2 was erased a little bit earlier on due to their numbers dwindling ever since their loss to Goku, Vegeta, and the androids, as well as Krillin earlier on. Piccolo and 18 are eliminated by Universe 4, which then leads to Universe 4 being erased after they get eliminated in response. So now it's basically the Saiyans of Universe 7 plus Android 17 against those of Universe 11. First off, Goku and Vegeta go to face Jiren, and this gets the remaining fighters to see the gap in power, specifically Raditz and Bardock who felt like they've been left behind. Seeing Goku unleash Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken again, as well as Vegeta unleashing Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, it gets the two of them thinking. They feel way out of their league right now, and Bardock begins to hatch a plan that might help the team, as well as empowering him and Raditz overall. Bardock shouts to the stands, and remembering that thing that Kefla did, he asks Shin if they could use that thing that they used, the earrings. Shin and Beerus argue against it, saying it'll mean they have one less fighter, but Bardock and Raditz tell him that they feel they're not pulling their weight right now, and they'd be much more useful combined into one strong fighter. Realizing that Bardock is kinda right, Shin and Beerus reluctantly agree, and they toss them the earrings. This should be pretty fun. After Jiren takes on Goku and Vegeta, Vegeta faces Toppo as Gohan and 17 face Dispo. With everyone being at a disadvantage right now, Raditz and Bardock decide that this may help. They're not worried about the fusion being permanent, as they notice Kefla defused following her fight, so they don't even bother to question that. The two place an earring on one ear each, and suddenly, they begin to fuse. This distracts Toppo and Dispo, and even Jiren, allowing Vegeta to gain the upper hand against Toppo, with Gohan, 17, and Goku watching as this happens. It's just like Kefla before. Bardock and Raditz have now merged into one new fighter. He's not Bardock, and he's not Raditz, so why not just call himself Barditz? The new warrior is amazed at his power, not expecting the fusion to be this strong. Powering up to Super Saiyan 2 instantly, he jumps into the fight between Dispo, Gohan, and 17, defeating Dispo pretty easily after getting help from the other two. It seems that this fusion was a good idea. Barditz is way more powerful and competitive than Bardock and Raditz individually, and they'll be very useful here. Vegeta is still facing Toppo, alongside Goku, but with Dispo gone and Gohan still in the arena, Barditz, Gohan, and 17 head over to help. Toppo hasn't gone into his God of Destruction mode due to Frieza not being there to antagonize him, and Vegeta is facing him in blue right now to preserve his stamina rather than going to Super Saiyan Blue evolution. This group of 5 is easily able to take out Toppo, although Vegeta is a little angered that he couldn't fight him on his own. Now, Jiren is the only one left. The group all powers up, preparing to face him. Vegeta goes back into Blue Evolution, Goku goes into Blue Kaioken, and Barditz powers even further beyond his Super Saiyan 2. If you remember from the last part, they both had training with Beerus, but weren't able to access Super Saiyan God yet. However, this fusion gives a great boost in power and combines their God Ki to break their limits. Barditz powers up and is able to actually ascend to Super Saiyan God this time. Surprised to have accomplished this somehow. Keep in mind, just because he has Super Saiyan God doesn't mean he's on the level of someone like Super Saiyan God Goku or Vegeta. Maybe Barditz is close, but Bardock and Raditz individually are still really weak in comparison, even as Super Saiyan Gods, which they can't even do on their own yet and probably can only do as a fusion, kinda like Gotenks with Super Saiyan 3. Will this be enough? Let's see. The group faces Jiren and is able to deal some damage, but it's not enough damage. They obviously lack power, but strategy may help here. Their objective now is destroying the ring around Jiren, hoping that this will work. This is a last resort, and it's a desperate move, but it may help. Jiren is able to pick up on this though, and he prevents them from doing it. He washes the floor with the group, completely draining their power and causing them to be badly beaten. Jiren attempts to knock everyone out, with his blast being stopped by Android 17, who detonates himself to protect everyone. With everyone badly injured, they still try and stand against Jiren. Vegeta tries to use the last of his stamina to face Jiren, but he gets knocked out, while Barditz and Gohan try to defend somehow. With all the energy used up from everyone, Barditz even defuses, leaving the group even weaker than before. Goku is even worse off and tries to help, but to no avail. Vegeta granted him some energy when he was knocked out, and that's the only reason he's still able to fight. Jiren first knocks out Raditz, followed by Bardock and Gohan. Goku is the only one left. Now, close to defeat, Goku is backed into a corner again, and it lets him access Ultra Instinct once more. But this time, it's different. Not only does he have the defensive abilities of Ultra Instinct, but he's able to attack Jiren and do some damage this time. Suddenly, Goku's hair and aura change, being surrounded by purple and blue flames and his hair turning into a complete white. Goku has tapped into the true Ultra Instinct, rather than the Omen form that he had before. The fight between the two is a huge spectacle, and it's pretty much like it was in the original story, but this time around, it ends kinda differently. We've seen in the scenario that Goku doesn't really hesitate anymore, ever since his Kakarot personality kinda melded with his regular one. Not that he's completely merciless, but he's just a little bit less merciful than before. And this time is really no different. Once he has Jiren on the ground, he doesn't hesitate. He instantly powers up a blast and launches Jiren out of the ring, assuming that Ultra Instinct will probably wear off again. And he was kinda right to assume this because it does, and it completely drains all of his stamina and injures him. Jiren is knocked out, with Goku and Universe 7 being declared the winners of the Tournament of Power, all while Goku's spasming on the ground due to his loss of Ultra Instinct. He's in a lot of pain, but the victory kinda helps. Then, Android 17 crawls out of the rocks. This wasn't the big reveal that he was waiting for, but everyone's just like, hey, Android 17's alive, cool. Even better, Goku is declared as the MVP, and he makes the wish to restore all the universes. He doesn't want to see all these strong fighters go just like that. He wants to be able to face them in the future as well as explore the other universes and see what they have to hold for him in terms of a fight. And it's the right choice. Zeno reveals the whole thing about the test, and Goku's kinda glad that he wished for that because, well, otherwise everyone would have been erased permanently. But as for now, that'll be the end of the scenario. We can't really go into the Broly movie right now because, well, without Frieza around, that's not really even gonna happen. And we could go into the Moro arc, but I'm not gonna cover that until it's actually finished. I wanna see how that plays out before covering it. Until then, we can consider this the finale of this What If. Thanks to everyone who stuck by as we completed this one. This one actually turned out kinda short, but I like the way it ended. So what did you guys think of this scenario, and what do you think might happen in the future if it continues? Leave your thoughts on it and the suggestions in the comments below, and I'll be sure to look at them all. If you like this scenario in this part, be sure to drop a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting this scenario all the way through. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.